The Baltimore Ravens just made a really smart move to help this defense. We'll talk about that, as well as who missed practice today. Lamar Jackson, player of the week. Todd Monken, head coach candidate now. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Ray is still at the end if you're looking for the Ray Lewis intro / outro right now. I'm putting him at the end, but we're still figuring it out. But anyways, let's dive into what we're talking about today. The Baltimore Ravens just brought back Dean Pease. He was our old defensive coordinator from 2012 to 2017. He actually coached Zach Orr when he was a player and has been a mentor to him since. Zach Orr's been staying in touch with Dean Pease and has basically offered, hey, if you ever want to help or you feel like you could help in any area, we'd love to have you on board. It took some time, but now Dean Pease has agreed to come on board. He's already at practice today, so he is on the defensive staff in a senior advisory role to Zach Orr, and I think that this is a genius move. Having a veteran defensive coordinator who's been defensive coordinator for multiple teams, has had a lot of success in Baltimore with Zach Orr, is just going to help. And I see some people online talking about like, oh, Zach Orr's cooked, he needs help. It's like, the Harbaugh needs a game manager narrative. But I don't look at it that way. Zach Orr is a really young defensive coordinator, basically a rookie defensive coordinator. He's never been a DC before, and he only has 5 games of experience so far as a defensive coordinator. So why not have an older, more experienced mind in the room just to bounce ideas off of, or just kind of go over the game plan with you and just make some tweaks here and there. I think that this is a great move. We know the secondary needs to be playing better, and I just think having a really smart mind like Dean Pease, who's kind of seen it all, is going to be able to help organize this a little bit better and put these players in better positions so that they can consistently win their battles. Shout out to Zach Orr for asking for help or just being willing to take on help. There's a lot of people who get a responsibility, whatever that may be, in any field of life, and they act like they need to know it all and that they got to figure it out so that they don't look bad. But in reality, nobody really has anything that figured out. Some people are obviously better at others. Some people have more experience and stuff, but you can always improve. You can always learn from other people, especially people that have done what you're doing. It's really important to constantly seek growth, and I think it's just a great sign that Zach Orr already in his young defensive coordinator career is willing to take on veteran help like this, and I know that this will help improve the entire defense overall. I honestly think that this defense will continue to progress, whether we brought Dean Pease on or not. I think that this defense is really strong, and we're going to see that really progress throughout the rest of this season, but having a veteran mind like that is only going to help. Moving on to today's practice, it's only Wednesday, so I'm not freaking out, but there were some key absences. Rashad Bateman missed, Ronnie Stanley missed, Malik Harrison, Broderick Washington, Marlon Humphrey, and Arthur Millette all not practicing today. Keaton Mitchell was off on the side doing some individual workouts, so excited for him to get back. I don't think that there's anything to read into. It's Wednesday. I don't even like going over the injury reports this early in the week because you can start to freak out a little bit. Not you guys, but me too. I'm like, oh no, Bateman's missing, Humphrey's missing. I'm not surprised about Marlon Humphrey at all. He was in a walking boot after the game, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is truly questionable this week, but not freaking out about Ronnie Stanley or Rashad Bateman until, Friday. If they're still not practicing Friday, then we got a little bit of a problem, but it's Wednesday. People get banged up in the games. It's only been a few days since the game, so I'm sure a lot of these are rest days. They're probably dealing with something minor, but I'm just saying the coaches are giving them a rest to help that heal up a little bit. But I would expect a lot of these guys to be at practice later in the week. I don't expect there to be any key absences against the Commanders. So we'll keep an eye on the injury report as the week progresses, but that's where we're at right now. Lamar Jackson, shout out Lamar Jackson, man, on his way to a 3rd MVP. Although he's not the favorite right now, I think Patrick Mahomes still is, which is insane if you look at the numbers. But I guess an undefeated record will do that for you. Lamar had a little bit of that treatment last year when the Ravens had the best record in the NFL. I think that did give him a little boost. Not to say he's not deserving. He definitely is deserving of the MVP, but last year was a down statistical year for most of the league, and Lamar got a little boost because of the record, and I think that's what's going on with Mahomes right now, not the down statistical year, but since the Chiefs are undefeated and there's not a lot of weapons at receiver and things like that, they're just giving a lot of credit to Mahomes, but his numbers aren't even close to some of the other quarterbacks in the league. But anyway, shout out to Lamar Jackson. He is AFC Offensive Player of the Week, coming off that 348 pass yard game, 55 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, just driving the Ravens to come back against the Bengals over and over and over again. We were down 10 points multiple times in that game. Late in that game, 5 minutes left, we're down 10. Lamar's making spectacular plays, tossing Hubbard out the way, throwing across the body to Likely, directing traffic. I mean, just an impressive performance. Lamar is truly playing on a different level this year. This is his 11th Offensive Player of the Week, by the way, and I wouldn't be surprised if he stacks a couple more throughout the year or even has an Offensive Player of the Month award. Todd Monken is starting to get some head coach talk. I don't know how serious this is. I think he's just being mentioned in the line of head coach candidates because our offense is playing really well, and our offense had a great season last year as well. I don't think Todd Monken is going to be a head coach next year. I really don't see us losing him, but I guess you never know. They do pluck our coordinators all the time to get promotions throughout the league. So if we have another dominant year and our offense just goes absolutely crazy, you never know, but I don't see him as a lead head coaching candidate. Not that he's done anything wrong. I just think that he's built a little bit more for an offensive coordinator role. Sometimes when these coordinators become head coaches, they lose the grip a little bit of the team because they never were really in that position. You know, there's a big difference between being a coordinator and being the mind of an offense versus being a head coach where you're also the leader of the entire team and all the other coordinators and the entire staff, you know, so you're responsible for so much more. There's so much more on your mind. We see it sometimes with guys like even Mike McDaniel, I'd say, you know, like he's a great offensive coordinator, great offensive mind, but can he carry that over and give the leadership the same attention? You know, it's difficult to do both. It's difficult to be calling plays and wrapping your head around the scheme every week, and then also being the leader and having the energy to inspire and rally the troops. So we'll see. We're pretty far away from that. It's not that he's not capable of being a head coach. I could just see him sticking around as the Ravens coordinator for at least another season after this year. Now I'm going to dive into some of your questions. I'm going to keep doing this every week at the end of some of these episodes when you guys ask questions. So first question is from Nick D. Our pass defense is struggling. Do you think Zach Orr bears responsibility or more on poor tackling, technique, communication? And then he also asked, do you think Marcus Williams is a liability in our secondary? So I'll kind of bundle Marcus Williams in with the defensive conversation, but I think that it's definitely more execution from the players that is the issue, but I'm not naive to say that the scheme couldn't be better. That's why I think it's so beneficial to bring in a guy like Dean Pease to try and put these guys in better positions. Mainly speaking about last week when we just got absolutely torched throughout the entire game basically by the Bengals. If you really go back and watch the tape of what's going on, it is just Chase, Higgins, and Burrow executing at the highest level and beating our guys, making contested catches over Stevens and Marlon not dropping back far enough into his zone. Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson are not playing their best ball either. I see them get caught chasing different guys. I would say it's more on player execution and communication on the field, but some of that obviously falls back on coaching because you need your guys to be as prepared as possible, but I really just don't think we're executing on the field at the highest level. There's just some bad decisions being made, and then we're losing battles to elite receivers. Guys like Chase are just beating our corners, man. We're right there. You know, Stevens and Humphrey are on Chase a lot of those throws, and he's just winning the battle. Nate Wiggins is another example where we put him out on an island a few times and he gets stuck in the mud here and there. This guy's super talented. I'm not concerned about Nate Wiggins and his progression through even this year or especially in the future, but I'm just saying these are the things that are happening, you know. Nate Wiggins is pausing, freezing in quicksand and somebody's running by him and then he's trying to catch up. Or Marlon Humphrey's not dropping back into his coverage like he should, or Marcus Williams isn't over far enough and took the wrong guy. And there's just a lot of these little things going on. I wouldn't say Marcus Williams is a liability. He's definitely not playing his best ball, but I think the entire defense can play better. They can communicate better. And as the weeks go, they're going to figure this out, especially even bringing a guy like Dean Pease in. It's not a lack of talent on our team, and I don't think it's a lack of scheme either. This is a very similar defense to what we've always ran. I know a lot of people are freaking out about our secondary, but I'm really not. I think we're pretty close, man. We're a few bad decisions away from holding teams to a lot less points. Next question is from Andy Young. Do you think that Ravens tell Davante Adams, do you want to win Super Bowl? Do you want to win the Super Bowl? I think Adams will help Zay Flowers and others get going faster. If we get Adams, we can beat the Chiefs. I would get rid of Ronnie Stanley. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I definitely would not get rid of Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie is balling right now. You know, maybe you could have said that last year, but Ronnie, I'm right now I'm on extend Ronnie team. You know, I definitely don't want to lose Ronnie Stanley. Him and Tyler Linderbaum and Roger Rosengarten, I think, are the staples of our offensive line. And I do not want to lose Ronnie. He's playing really well, man. Ronnie is having one of his best seasons so far. So shout out to Ronnie Stanley. And then getting Davante Adams, yeah, man, that would put us over the top. I mean, that's what I was talking about in yesterday's video. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that it's too big of a price tag. I think it's probably too big of an asking price for draft capital. I just don't see the Ravens taking on that type of contract, or just that situation in general is a lot. You know, there's some baggage there. Age, injury history. He's hurt right now. You know, I don't know how much he's milking it, but like he's hurt right now and missing games. And then you're going to have to deal with that contract. You're going to have to release him. You're going to have to extend him, whatever. There's just a lot of decisions, but to answer your question, he would definitely put the Ravens over the top. I think it would make this offense absolutely unstoppable. He'd be a great complement to Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. I think we don't have a guy like Davante Adams, that big body wide receiver, a DeAndre Hopkins, somebody that can just, you can throw it up to them and they can go get it. I know our guys are capable of that in moments, but that's not their strengths. That's not Zay Flowers' strength. I think Rashad's got a little bit of that in him too, but that's not essentially his strength either. He's going to route you up, man, you know, and he's got great hands, but we're not throwing him jump balls in the end zone. So having a big body veteran receiver like a Davante Adams, a DeAndre Hopkins is a great complement to the other receivers and gives our receiver room a lot of depth and security in case there's any injuries down the road. It's a long season. We got a lot of time left. Rashad Bateman's missing practice today, man. I'm just telling you, it'll get real dark if that trade line passes and we start having some receiver injuries to the top and we didn't make a move. I'm telling you, it's going to be hard for us to have a successful passing game. So I would not be against bringing another guy on. But that's it for today, guys. We got the game preview episode coming up in a few days. Commanders, Ravens this Sunday. Hell of a matchup. Can't wait for that. I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let Ray Lewis, the greatest linebacker in the history of the game, take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.